The champagne flute slipped from my tray before I could stop it. Time seemed to slow as the glass tumbled through the air, golden liquid arcing in a perfect spray before splashing across the front of the most expensive suit I'd ever seen. The man wearing it, tall, dark-haired, with the kind of sharp features that belonged on magazine covers, stood frozen as champagne dripped down his black jacket. "Oh my God," I gasped, my face burning with humiliation. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Around us, the charity gala's elegant chatter died. 200 of Chicago's elite turned to stare at the clumsy waitress who'd just drenched someone important. My manager was going to kill me. I'd only been working these high-end events for 3 months, desperately saving for my own art studio, and now I'd probably be blacklisted from every catering company in the city. I grabbed napkins from my tray with shaking hands. "Please let me." The man's hand shot out and caught my wrist. His grip wasn't painful, but it was absolute. I looked up, an apology dying on my lips as I met his eyes. They were dark, almost black, and staring at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Not anger, something else entirely. Something that felt like recognition. His face had gone pale beneath his olive complexion. "Who sent you?" His voice was low, controlled, but I heard the tremor beneath it. What? I tried to pull away, but his fingers tightened. "Nobody sent me. It was an accident. I'm just a waitress, don't lie to me." He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something dark as cigars. Maybe. Or whiskey. "Who are you working for?" Fear spiked through my confusion. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please let go." His eyes searched my face with an almost frantic quality, traveling from my dark hair to my eyes to the shape of my jaw. Several security guards in dark suits had materialized around us, creating a wall between our strange tableau and the staring crowd. "What's your name?" he demanded. "Sophia," I whispered, my heart hammering. "Sophia Bennett. Please, I really didn't mean to spill on you. I'll pay for the dry cleaning. I'll Sophia." He repeated my name like he was testing it, tasting it. Then so quietly I almost didn't hear, "You look exactly like her." "Like who?" His jaw clenched. For a moment I thought he might not answer. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked on the words. "My sister." Before I could respond, he released my wrist and stepped back abruptly. One of his security guards leaned in, whispering something urgent. The man, I still didn't know his name, nodded once, his eyes never leaving my face. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, pressing it into my palm. His fingers were cold. "If anything unusual happens," he said, his composure returning like a mask sliding into place, "anything at all, you call that number. I don't understand, you will." He turned to leave, then paused, looking back over his shoulder. The anguish in his expression made my chest ache. "I'm sorry for frightening you. But please, Sophia Bennett, be careful. Very careful." Then he was gone, his security detail closing around him as he disappeared into the crowd. Within seconds, the gala's noise resumed, conversations picking up as if nothing had happened. But my hands were still shaking as I looked down at the card. Dante Moretti. No title. No company. Just a name and a phone number. I slipped it into my pocket and finished my shift in a daze, barely registering the manager's lecture about professionalism. All I could think about was the way he'd looked at me, like I was a ghost. Like seeing my face had broken something fundamental inside him. The next morning, I woke to find a dozen white roses outside my apartment door. There was no card, no delivery receipt. Just perfect white blooms arranged with professional precision, their petals still wet with morning dew. I carried them inside, my unease growing with each step. It wasn't until I was putting them in water that I remembered the tattoo I'd glimpsed on his wrist as he'd grabbed me, barely visible beneath his sleeve. White roses. Exactly like these. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Forgive the intrusion. I couldn't help myself. Dia stared at the message, then at the flowers, then at the business card I'd left on my nightstand. Dante Moretti. Who was he? And why did he think I looked like his dead sister? The flowers kept coming. Every Monday morning for 2 weeks, I'd find a fresh bouquet outside my door. Always white roses, always 12. Never a card. I stopped bringing them inside after the third delivery, leaving them in the hallway for neighbors to take. It felt wrong to keep accepting gifts from a man who'd looked at me like I was a ghost, but the flowers were just the beginning. "You're being paranoid," Maya said, sprawled across our thrift store couch as I paced our tiny living room. "Is my room my room?" I'd known me since college, and she'd perfected the art of talking me down from anxiety spirals. Lots of people have black cars. It's Chicago, not some small town where everyone drives pickup trucks. It's the same car, Maya. Same license plate. I've seen it parked outside the gallery 3 times this week. I pulled back the curtain, peering down at the street. There, right across from our building, a sleek black sedan with tinted windows. And there's always a man in a suit at my coffee shop now. The same guy. He doesn't order anything, just sits there reading a newspaper like it's 1950. Maya rolled her eyes. Maybe he likes that coffee shop. Maybe he thinks you're cute and is working up the courage to talk to you. That's not, I let the curtain fall. This is different. Something's wrong. The only thing wrong is that you let some rich guy at a gala get in your head. She sat up, her expression softening. Look, I get it. He was intense and weird, and the flowers are creepy. But you're a beautiful woman in a big city. Sometimes guys fixate. It doesn't mean you're in danger. I wanted to believe her. I tried to convince myself she was right. But every morning when I left for work, I felt eyes on me. Every time I turned a corner, I checked over my shoulder. The awareness of being watched had become a constant weight. On the 10th night, I gave in and Googled him. Dante Moretti Chicago brought up exactly 3 results. A brief mention in a society page from 4 years ago. A single photograph at a charity auction. And 1 news article that made my blood run cold. Moretti family tragedy. Sister dies in home invasion. The article was 5 years old, sparse on details. Isabella Moretti, age 22, found dead in the family's Lincoln Park residence. Police suspected a burglary gone wrong. No arrests made. The family declined to comment. But it was the photo that stopped my heart. The archived image showed a young woman with dark hair and pale skin laughing at some formal event. The resemblance wasn't just striking, it was impossible. We had the same face shape, the same wide-set eyes, the same slight upturn to our nose. If someone had shown me that photo without context, I would have sworn it was me. We could have been twins. My hands trembled as I closed my laptop. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't some strange attraction. Dante Moretti was watching me because I looked exactly like his dead sister. The rational part of my brain screamed that I should go to the police, file a restraining order, do something official. But what would I say? A man sent me flowers and might be having me followed because I resemble his murdered sister. They'd think I was paranoid or attention-seeking. Against every instinct of self-preservation, I pulled out his business card. My fingers hovered over my phone's keyboard for a full minute before I finally typed, "Why are you following me?" I hit send before I could reconsider. The response came in less than 10 seconds. "Because I can't lose you again." My phone slipped from my hands, clattering onto the floor. Maya looked up from her magazine, concerned. "Soph? You okay?" I wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. But somehow Dante Moretti's words didn't sound like a threat. They sounded like a confession. He was sitting at my usual table when I walked into Brew and Page's the next morning. I stopped dead in the doorway, my heart lurching. Dante Moretti looked different in daylight, less like the polished businessman from the gala, and more like someone who hadn't slept in days. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, his suit jacket missing, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms marked with scars I hadn't noticed before. And that tattoo. White roses winding up his wrist. He stood when he saw me, the gesture oddly formal. "Please don't run," he said quietly. "I just want to talk." Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to leave, to call someone. But my feet carried me forward anyway, drawn by something I couldn't name. I slid into the chair across from him, gripping my bag like a shield. "You're following me," I said, keeping my voice low. You've been watching me for 2 weeks. Yes, no denial, no excuse, just brutal honesty. That's illegal. That's stalking. Yes, he repeated, his dark eyes holding mine. It is. The barista approached, but Dante waved her away with a gesture that sent her scurrying back behind the counter. The casual display of power should have terrified me. Instead, I felt oddly protected by it. I need you to understand something, he continued, leaning forward. When Isabella died, they made it look like a home invasion. Random violence. Wrong place, wrong time. His jaw tightened. It wasn't random. She was murdered because of me. Because she was a Moretti. Because hurting her would hurt me. The pain in his voice was raw, unfiltered. I'm sorry about your sister, I said carefully, but I'm not her. I'm just someone who happens to look like her. I know that. His hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching mine. Believe me, Sophia, I know you're not Isabella. But the resemblance... He stopped, struggling with the words. My enemies have noticed too. The Russo family. They're the ones who killed her, and they're asking questions about you. Ice flooded my veins. What kind of questions? Whether you're a relative. Whether Isabella might have told you things before she died. Whether you could be leverage against me. His fingers curled into a fist. I've had men watching you for protection, not surveillance. Keeping you safe from... My phone rang, shattering the tension. Maya's name flashed on the screen. I need to take this, I said, answering. Maya, Sophia! Her scream nearly deafened me. There are men in our apartment. They broke down the door and they're looking for you. They said, her voice cut off, replaced by sounds of a struggle, a crash, then a man's voice, cold and accented. Sophia Bennett, you have something we want. Come home, or your friend suffers for it. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, the world tilting sideways. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. Dante was already on his feet, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. 2 men in suits materialized from corners of the coffee shop I hadn't even noticed they were in. His security. They'd been here the whole time. He ended his call and turned to me, his expression harder than granite. Sophia, listen to me very carefully. Those men are Russo family. They will hurt Maya to get information about me. They will hurt you. They will not negotiate. And they will not show mercy. I have to go to her, I said, standing on shaking legs. I have to. If you go to that apartment, they'll take you. Dante's hand closed around my arm, gentle but immovable. And there are places even I can't reach. Places where I couldn't protect you. Then what am I supposed to do? My voice broke. Just leave her. No! His eyes burned with intensity. You come with me now. My men are already en route to extract Maya. But you're the target. You're what they really want. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too exposed. Through the window, I saw a black van pull up across the street. Wrong make, wrong model. Not one of Dante's. His grip tightened. Sophia, right now. Choose. The safe house wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined something dark and warehouse-like, all concrete and shadows. Instead, Dante's SUV pulled up to a modern glass structure perched on the waterfront, its floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the late afternoon sun on Lake Michigan. Beautiful, isolated, expensive, a gilded cage, Maya? I asked the moment we were inside, my voice tight with fear. Dante checked his phone. My men have her. She's safe. Minor bruising, but nothing serious. They're taking her to a secure location separate from this one. Relief nearly buckled my knees. I sank onto a leather couch that probably cost more than my car, finally allowing myself to feel the terror I'd been holding back. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Dante disappeared into another room, returning with a glass of amber liquid. Drink? I don't drink, he repeated, pressing the glass into my hands. It's whiskey. It'll help with the shock. I took a sip, the burn grounding me back in my body. He sat across from me, not beside me, maintaining a careful distance that I appreciated. For a dangerous man who'd basically kidnapped me, he was being remarkably respectful of my space. Tell me everything, I said, finding my voice. No more half-truths. If my life is in danger because of your world, I deserve to know why. Dante leaned back, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. Isabella was 22 when she died. Young, idealistic, horrified by what our family did to maintain power. His voice was hollow. She witnessed something she shouldn't have, a Russo family execution. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she saw Nico Russo kill a federal informant. I took another sip of whiskey, needing it. Isabella wanted to testify. She thought she could bring them down, make something good come from what she'd seen. His hands clenched. I begged her not to. Told her it would make her a target, but she was stubborn, brave. She went to the FBI anyway, and they killed her for it, I whispered. 2 days before she was supposed to testify, someone broke into our family home, made it look like a robbery. Took her jewelry, electronics, made a mess. His voice dropped to barely audible. But they didn't take the one thing burglars always take. Her laptop. Because they weren't there to steal. They were there to silence her. The pain in his eyes was devastating. This wasn't the controlled mafia boss from the gala or the commanding presence from the coffee shop. This was a brother drowning in guilt 5 years later. I couldn't protect her, he continued. My own sister in my family's home, and I failed her. Every day since, I've been hunting the men responsible. And every day I see her face in my nightmares. Until you saw my face, I said quietly. Until I saw your face. He looked up, meeting my eyes. At first I thought someone was playing games, that the Russos had found a lookalike to torment me. But you were real. You had your own life, your own story. You weren't a weapon. You were just ... there. And for the first time in 5 years, when I looked at Isabella's face, it wasn't dead. The confession made my chest ache. The Russos believe you might be connected to her, Dante said. A cousin, a half-sister, someone Isabella might have shared information with before she died. They think you could have evidence, or know where she hid copies of what she witnessed. But I never even met her. I grew up in foster care. I have no family. I know, but they don't believe it. He stood, pacing to the windows. They won't stop until they've questioned you, and their questioning methods. He cut himself off, jaw tight. I can't let that happen. I should have been calculating escape routes. Demanding he take me to the police, insisting this wasn't my fight. Instead, I found myself asking, what was she like? Isabella. Dante turned, surprise flickering across his features. For the next 3 hours, as the sun set over the lake, he told me about his sister, her laugh, her terrible singing voice, the way she'd argued with him about everything, her dreams of being a lawyer, of using the family's resources for good instead of violence. And slowly I began to understand. His obsession wasn't just about my face. It was about unfinished grief, unresolved guilt, and the desperate human need to rewrite an ending that had destroyed him. As midnight approached, Dante stood by the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. I know you're not her, he said, his voice raw. But God help me. I can't let you go. The video arrived at dawn. I'd spent the night in one of the safe house's guest rooms, sleeping in borrowed clothes that smelled like expensive detergent. When I emerged, Dante was already awake, or perhaps he'd never slept, standing rigid in front of his laptop with an expression that made my stomach drop. What is it? I asked. He didn't answer, just turned the screen toward me. Maya stared back from the video, bound to a chair in what looked like an empty warehouse. Her lip was split, dried blood on her chin, but her eyes were defiant. Behind her stood a man I didn't recognize. Blonde, cruel smile, expensive suit. Sophia Bennett, the man said in accented English. My name is Nico Russo. I believe you have something that belonged to Isabella Moretti. Information, evidence, perhaps. She told you things before she died. He placed a hand on Maya's shoulder, making her flinch. You have 24 hours to come forward. Alone. Or your friend loses a finger for every hour you delay. The video cut out. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Maya was there because of me, because I had the misfortune of looking like a dead woman. No, Dante said before I could speak. His voice was iron. You're not offering yourself. She's my best friend, and you're— He stopped abruptly, jaw clenching. I won't negotiate your life for hers. We'll get Maya back, but not by giving them what they want. I'm what? I challenged, anger flaring through my fear. Not Isabella, because that's what you were about to say, isn't it? You can't lose me because I remind you of her. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes, but he didn't deny it. We'll extract Maya, he said, already pulling up maps on his laptop. I have the location traced from the video. My men can be in position by tonight. Controlled breach, minimal casualties. But you stay here where it's safe. I'm going with you. Absolutely not. Then you're not getting her back. I crossed my arms, channeling a courage I didn't feel. They want me, Dante. They think I have information. Let me be the bait. Draw them out while your men get Maya to safety. Do you have any idea what you're suggesting? His control was fracturing, voice rising. These are men who tortured my sister before they killed her. Men who would do worse to you just to hurt me, then make sure your plan works. We argued for an hour. Dante paced like a caged animal, his objections growing more desperate, more possessive. Finally, he slammed his hand on the table. I can't watch you walk into danger, Isabella. The name hung in the air between us. His face drained of color as he realized what he'd said. Sophia. I meant Sophia. You called me Isabella. My voice was quiet. Sad. How many times have you done that in your head? He turned away, shoulders rigid. I don't know how many times, Dante. Every time I look at you. The confession came out broken. Every single time. I see her face and I hear her voice and I remember her laugh. And I know it's sick. I know it's wrong. I know you're your own person with your own life, but I can't separate it. The grief and the guilt and— He faced me again, anguish written across his features. And whatever I'm starting to feel for you. My heart hammered. What are you feeling for me? I don't know anymore. He moved closer, stopping just out of reach. At first it was about Isabella, about protecting what I couldn't protect before. But now when you speak, I listen to your words, not hers. When you argue with me, I'm arguing with you, not her memory. And it terrifies me. Why? Because what if I'm falling for you because you're you, not because of her? His dark eyes searched mine desperately. Would you even believe me? Would you trust that it's real? The vulnerability in his question broke something open inside me. This dangerous man who commanded violence with a gesture was asking me, begging me, to believe he could see past a dead woman's face. I don't know, I admitted. But I know Maya doesn't have time for us to figure it out. Dante closed his eyes, fighting some internal battle. When he opened them again, the vulnerable man was gone, replaced by the calculated leader. Fine, we do this your way, but you follow my orders exactly. No heroics, no improvisation. He stepped close enough that I could feel his breath. And Sophia? When this is over, I'm going to prove to you that you're not a ghost. The abandoned warehouse loomed against the night sky like a skeletal giant, its broken windows reflecting our headlights as we approached. My heart hammered against the bulletproof vest hidden beneath my jacket. A weight I'd grown sickeningly accustomed to over the past 12 hours. Remember, Dante said from the driver's seat, his voice tight with tension. You stay in the car. You're visible through the windshield. That's enough. Marco and his team are positioned on the roof. The moment Maya is clear, we leave. I nodded, unable to speak past the fear closing my throat. Through the wire taped to my chest, I could hear the steady breathing of Dante's men on the tactical channel. We pulled into the warehouse lot. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. There are too many cars, I whispered. Dante's jaw clenched. I see them. He spoke into his radio in rapid Italian, his hand moving to the gun at his side. Sophia, listen to me. Whatever happens, you do not leave this vehicle. Do you understand? Before I could answer, the warehouse doors exploded outward. Men poured out, not the 5 or 6 we'd expected, but dozens. Armed, organized. They fanned out in a practiced formation that spoke of military training, and in the center, dragged forward by 2 guards, was Maya. "It's a trap," Dante snarled, already shifting the car into reverse. Gunfire erupted. The windshield spiderwebbed as bullets slammed into the reinforced glass. I screamed, throwing my hands over my head as Dante floored the accelerator. The SUV lurched backward, engine roaring, but we'd only moved 10 feet when something exploded near the front tire. The vehicle spun, slamming sideways into a concrete pillar. My head cracked against the window despite the seatbelt, stars bursting across my vision. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Dante shouting, felt his hands on my face. "Sophia! Sophia! Look at me!" I blinked, trying to focus. Blood ran down his temple from a gash near his hairline. Outside, the gunfire had intensified, Dante's men returning fire from their positions. My door was ripped open. Hands grabbed me, yanking me from the vehicle before Dante could react. I kicked and screamed, but my attacker was massive, lifting me like I weighed nothing. He dragged me backward toward the warehouse, using me as a human shield. "Moretti," he shouted in accented English, "stop shooting or she dies." The gunfire ceased abruptly. Through the chaos, I saw Dante emerge from the SUV, hands raised, his face transformed into something terrifying. Gone was any trace of the vulnerable man from this morning. This was the mafia boss who'd built an empire on fear. "Let her go," he said, his voice carrying across the lot with deadly calm. "And I'll make your deaths quick." My captor laughed, the barrel of his gun pressing into my ribs. Big words for a man with no Dante moved. I didn't see him draw his weapon. One moment his hands were empty, the next a gunshot cracked through the air and my captor's grip went slack. I fell, hitting the pavement hard as his body collapsed beside me. Then Dante was everywhere. He moved through the Russo men like a force of nature, each movement precise and brutal. A shot to the chest. A throat slashed with a knife I hadn't seen him carrying. Another man down with 2 bullets before he could raise his weapon. It was choreographed violence, beautiful and horrifying in equal measure. Someone shot him. I saw the impact, his left shoulder jerking back as blood bloomed across his white shirt. He stumbled, but didn't stop, didn't even slow. He killed the shooter with his next breath and kept moving, kept fighting, kept coming toward me. "Get Maya!" he roared to someone. "Now!" Hands pulled me up, Marco, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. He half-carried me back toward a different vehicle while Dante provided cover, his injured arm hanging useless at his side while he fired with his right. I saw Maya being shoved into an SUV, alive but unconscious. Saw Dante take down 2 more men even as he bled. Saw the moment his team created an opening and he ran, diving into our vehicle as Marco floored it. We crashed through a weak section of fence and onto the street. Sirens wailing in the distance, the warehouse becoming a shrinking point of chaos behind us. In the back seat, Dante pressed his good hand against his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. His face was pale, jaw clenched against pain, but his eyes found mine with devastating intensity. "Now you see what I really am," he said, his voice rough. "Do you still want to leave?" I looked at the blood, the violence, the dangerous man who'd killed without hesitation to reach me. "No," I whispered. "I don't want to leave." The private medical facility was tucked away in a nondescript building in Oak Park, its entrance unmarked except for a small brass plaque. Dante's doctor, a stern woman in her 50s named Dr. Chun, worked with efficient silence, cleaning the bullet wound that had torn through his shoulder. "Through and through," she announced, threading a needle. "You're lucky. Another inch to the right and we'd be discussing lung punctures." "Luck," Dante muttered, his voice slurred from the pain medication she'd administered. "That's one word for it." I sat beside his bed, my hands still shaking from adrenaline. Maya was in another room down the hall, sedated but stable, with only bruises and psychological trauma to show for her ordeal. We'd been lucky. Impossibly, miraculously lucky. "You should rest," Dr. Chun told me, finishing the stitches. "He'll be out for several hours. The medication is strong, but I couldn't leave." couldn't shake the image of Dante fighting his way through armed men, bleeding, never stopping until I was safe. I'd watched him become something inhuman in that warehouse, and then watched him look at me with devastatingly human eyes. "Isabella," Dante murmured suddenly, his eyes closed. "I'm sorry. So sorry." "Doctor?" Chung glanced at me, a question in her expression, but I shook my head. She left quietly, closing the door behind her. "I should have protected you," Dante continued, lost in his medication-induced haze. "Should have locked you away somewhere safe. Should have never let you near the FBI. But you were so stubborn, so brave. And I thought if I gave you freedom, you'd forgive me for what we are, for what I am." My chest tightened. I thought he was talking to his dead sister. "And then you died," his voice cracked. "And I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every day I woke up and remembered all over again that you were gone, that I failed you." A tear slipped down his cheek. I'd never seen him cry. "When I saw Sophia," he whispered, "I thought I was hallucinating. Thought grief had finally broken me. But she was real, alive. And for just a moment, I could pretend you came back." His hand found mine, squeezing weakly. "I know it's sick. I know she's not you, but I've been pretending anyway. Just to ease the pain. Just to feel like I didn't lose everything." The raw confession shattered something inside me. "I'm falling for her," he continued, his words slurring together. "For Sophia, not Isabella. It terrifies me, because what if I can't separate the two? What if I hurt her? What if I—" He drifted off, his breathing evening out into sleep. I sat there for a long time, holding his hand, processing everything he'd revealed. The depth of his guilt, the complexity of his obsession, the genuine fear that he couldn't love me without the ghost of his sister between us. Hours later, when his eyes finally opened, clear now, the medication wearing off, he saw me still sitting there and went rigid. "How long have you been here?" "The whole time." Horror dawned on his face. "What did I say?" "Everything," I said softly. "You told me everything." He tried to sit up, wincing at the pain. "Sophia, I didn't mean you have to understand. My parents died when I was 6. I interrupted. "Car accident." Black ice, wrong place, wrong time. "I went into foster care because I had no other family. Bounced between 7 homes before I aged out at 18. He stopped, confusion replacing panic. "Every family I lived with, I tried to become what they wanted," I continued. "The quiet child, the grateful orphan, the easy placement. I spent 12 years being a ghost, pretending to be whoever they needed me to be, just to feel like I belonged somewhere." I met his eyes. "Maybe we're both looking for something we lost. Maybe we're both trying to fill voids that can't be filled. Sophia. But maybe," I said, my voice stronger now, "we could try to find something new instead. Not Isabella, not the daughter those families wanted. Just us, whatever that means." Dante stared at me for a long moment. Then slowly, carefully, he reached out and pulled me close. His good arm wrapped around me as he pressed his forehead to mine. "Then let's stop pretending," he whispered, "and see what we actually have." His lips brushed my forehead, gentle, despite everything he was capable of. And for the first time since the gala, I felt like he was seeing me. Just me. The call came 3 days later, while I was sitting with Maya in Dante's fortified estate outside the city. She'd been quiet since the warehouse, processing trauma that no amount of my apologies could heal. We were drinking tea, pathetically normal activity, given the circumstances, when Dante walked in with his phone, his expression graved. "Sophia," he said quietly, "I need to show you something." The video on his screen showed flames. Orange and hungry, consuming the small Lincoln Park gallery where I'd worked for 2 years. The place where I'd curated my first exhibition, where I'd dreamed of one day hosting my own show. The firefighters were already there, but the building was lost. My career, my life's work, gone. "The message was left on the gallery door before they set the fire," Dante said, pulling up a photo. "Spray painted in red. She's dead either way." I couldn't speak. Couldn't process the enormity of what they'd taken from me. Not just the building, but every possibility of returning to my old life. Even if the Russos were stopped, even if Maya and I survived, Who would hire someone whose presence brought violence? I'll rebuild it, Dante said immediately. A better location, better security. Whatever you stop. My voice came out hollow. You can't fix this. They've made sure I can never go back. I looked up at him, despair giving way to bitter clarity. This is permanent, isn't it? Even if we survive, even if they stop hunting me, my old life is over. He didn't try to lie. Yes. That night we moved again deeper into isolation, to a remote estate in rural Wisconsin that Dante's family had owned for generations. Stone walls, acres of forest, guards patrolling the perimeter. It was beautiful and suffocating in equal measure. Maya stayed behind in Chicago under guard but choosing distance from me. I need time, she'd said, not meeting my eyes. Another loss I had to carry. Alone with Dante in the vast, empty house, something shifted between us. He began teaching me about his world, not to recruit me, but to help me understand what survival in it required. The codes of loyalty, the languages of power and respect, the violence necessary to maintain both. I listened, repulsed and fascinated, watching him transform from wounded man to calculating strategist as he planned his next moves against the Russos. Why don't you just give them what they want? I asked one evening as we sat before a massive stone fireplace. Tell them I know nothing. Make this stop. Because they won't believe it, Dante replied, swirling whiskey in his glass. And because they've already crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. They burned down your workplace. They terrorized your friend. They threatened everything you are. His eyes met mine, dark and intense. I won't let that stand. This is about revenge for you, isn't it? Not just protection. Both, he admitted. They killed Isabella. Now they're trying to take you. I won't fail twice. That night, as thunder rolled across the Wisconsin countryside, I found myself unable to sleep. Memories of the gallery, of Maya's haunted eyes, of flames consuming everything I'd built, swirled through my mind. I wandered through the unfamiliar house until I found myself outside Dante's door. I knocked before I could reconsider. He opened it immediately, shirtless, his shoulders still bandaged. He'd been awake too. I could see the laptop on his bed,